and engage other people, bring in actuarial scientists and all, that, to help us understand the thing. You know, pension schemes are not things that you just speak about. You and I are on SNIT pension schemes. We know that it is structured in a certain way. You must contribute for a certain number of years. How much you contribute determines how much you get. There's the issue of your best 3 years and all that. Looking at the profile of the ages of farmers and all that. How is that kind of pension going to be structured and all that? Looking at how farmers' income comes in. We are paid maybe on a monthly or weekly basis. And there is a calculation and all that. So the issues in determining a pension scheme for farmers is not as easy as people want to put it. So it's something that we want to explore again. We want to engage again. We want to engage all the stakeholders. And then we'll be able to come up with a position, whether it is feasible or not. And then we can take it from there. But there is no pension scheme.
Yes. I see. This is revealing. But again, we understand that you are giving free insecticides, free spraying machines, free fungicides, free flower inducers to farmers. Why are you doing all of these?
It is to improve the yields. Okay. It's to improve the yields. It's to help with the agronomy practices. It's to make sure that we're dealing with both quantity and quality as far as the yields are concerned. The government believes, from a policy point of view, that this is how it can deliver on higher yields and of better quality. And we are implementing that.
Tell us about the cocoa traceability system. What is this idea?
Okay. So to put it simply, you'll be able to trace any bag of cocoa or any cocoa. You'll be able to trace from the farm gate where that cocoa was harvested, straight up to the port of shipment.
That's all.
So I'm saying simply.
Yeah, simply.
So if you take any bag of cocoa, you'll be able to trace it to Mora Audu's farm gate. That this is the source of the cocoa.
Oh, okay.
And the European Union has come up with deforestation regulations, which is called the EUDR. And it will take effect from the 31st of December. And so this traceability system is to ensure that we know that the cocoa is not coming from a farm that practices child labor or an area. It's not coming from as a result of deforestation, because these are things that Europe is strongly against. And so that's why it's called traceability. So you're able to track, you're able to trace. So, for example, if cocoa is, once the cocoa is graded and sealed, if it is smuggled from Ghana, you'll be able to trace that this cocoa is not from Togo, it's not from Cote d'Ivoire, it's from Ghana, to the extent that it's graded and sealed.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And so it gives an assurance to the European market that, in fact, the cocoa that they are importing is not a product of child labor, is not a product of deforestation, is not a product of all the things that they frown upon. And Europe is a destination for 60% of our cocoa exports. So it is extremely important that we are able to meet the deadline for this European Union deforestation regulations. Like I said, it's 31st December. We want to start with the opening of our season on Thursday.
Right.
And so we've done the dry runs with the top 8 LBCs. We've done with the other LBCs as well, just to be ready for it. This is the first time. There might be some hiccups. We don't expect things to be major, but then we'll be able to smoothen things as we go on. But we're ready. The European Union representatives and ambassadors and all that, they've seen what we've done. They have applauded us for where we've come so far. This is something that started from the previous administration, and we are continuing. And so we expect that we'll be ready. And by the time that the European Union starts the enforcement by 31st December, Ghana's cocoa should have no problems going to Europe.
And now to my next question, and my next question would explain to our viewers why I had to, from the beginning of the program, ask about the mandate or your core mandate is, and this question would explain that. So, as part of the 2026 budget, we're told that the Ghana Cocoa Board Act of 1984, which is PNDCL 81, would also be amended to make it illegal for the board to deviate or stray from its core mandate to protect the cocoa industry? So if we're talking for emphasis, Cocoa Board will no longer engage in what we call quasi-fiscal activities. Tell us a bit more about this.
So, I mean, a big example is the cocoa roads.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you go and expose yourself to the tune of 21 billion? You are not a road agency. Building of roads is not your core function. It's something that you do when either you make provision for it or when you've made some profits and you think that, look, you should contribute some to the development of some infrastructure in some cocoa areas, then you do that. But Cocoa Board is not a road agency. That is not our primary role. So you cannot be doing 21 billion when you owe for beans. What is your primary function? You owe for that. You owe for agrochemicals. You owe for this. And you want to spend these monies on that. Listen, government has a responsibility in ensuring that the roads in the cocoa areas are motorable so that we can be able to evacuate the cocoa. It is up to us through the sector ministry to bring some of these things to the attention of the relevant ministry and to ensure that these roads are captured in the relevant budgets of these ministries and to demonstrate that the inability of the country to do these roads has this implication as far as our export earnings are concerned.
Right.
And for that to be done, I hope you understand me.
I get it.
We cannot turn Cocoa Board into one of the agencies under the Ministry of Roads. I hope you understand me. And it appears that something that started as so additional support, something supplementary, then has turned out to become more of the primary focus of the entity.
Right.
To the extent that you go and sign road contract valued at 21 billion. With which money are you going to pay those monies? With which money? Cocoa Board earns at most 6%. At most 6%. With all your overheads, with your staff of over 10,000, and all your overheads, which monies will you be able to set aside to finance road construction to the tune of 21 billion? What was going through the heads of people who took these decisions? And to decide that you even denominate these contracts in dollars under something called co-financing. So, really, common sense should tell you that don't do this. But you see, in this life, sometimes when you're given discretionary power and authority and you abuse it, then you are now treated as a robot, which is what the new act intends to do. That if you cannot apply common sense and use the discretion wisely in taking decisions, then we might as well legislate it. I hope you get what I'm saying.
I totally understand.
We're just moving from something that ought to be commonsensical to something that will be legislated because we cannot trust the judicious use of discretionary power and authority by people who run the organization on the basis of the history of that organization.
Absolutely. So the 21 billion cedis, not dollars. So you've transferred these projects to.
So I'll tell you something, and I'm sure you remember when the IMF talk started.
Yes.
I'm sure you heard that Cocoa Board, as part of the IMF program,
yes,
Cocoa Board was going to rationalize these road contracts and reduce the exposure from 21 billion to 6.7 billion. We all heard it. Yes, I sat here, I discussed it with the panelists and all that. Oh, so there's a huge relief. At least the 21 billion will then become 6.7 billion, which is manageable. It's part of the IMF program Ghana signed up to. I got into office almost 3 years after this IMF, we are signed up to this IMF thing. Over 2 years. Got into office, had this presentation by General Services. And then I saw 21 billion cocoa roads. So it struck me. And I was like, but is this not what under the IMF program Cocoa Board was supposed to do a rationalization exercise to reduce it to 6.7 billion? Only to be told that, that was a desktop analysis which was presented to the IMF. We needed to follow up with the consultants to the field to go and actualize the desktop analysis that we've made. And this was never done for over 2 years, although it was part of the IMF program. So I asked, what is it that has prevented you? You've sat down in your offices. They put you in some hotel, you sat down, and you took the thing and said, oh, okay, this contract has not started, we can cancel it. This one is 5%, we can stop it. This one is double ceiling, we can make it single ceiling. This one is this, we can change it. And then when you did all that, you arrived at the possibility of rationalizing to 6.7 billion. But you needed to go to the field with the consultants to now go and actualize this on the field. To now go and certify that what you said is 5% is indeed 5%. What is 2% is indeed 2%. You can actually do this or you cannot do that. And for 2 years, although it was part of the IMF program, you have not done that. Why? They said, well, we owe the consultants. And without paying them some money, they were not going to go with us. So I said, who are these consultants and how much do you owe them? They said, so, roads and highways, we owe them 120 million. Feeder roads, we owe them 80 million cedis. I said, okay. So how much did you need to give them in order for them to go through this exercise with you? So if we give highways 30 million cedis and give feeder roads 20 million cedis, we'll be able to. So I said, okay. So you, Cocoa Board, you needed to spend 50 million cedis, not dollars, in order for consultants to accompany you to go to the field and go and actualize a desktop analysis you've done and present it to the IMF as part of the turnaround strategy for Cocoa Board to reduce your exposure with respect to cocoa rose from 21 billion to 6.7 billion. You were going to shave off about 15 billion off your exposure. And you needed 50 million cedis to complete this exercise. And for 2 years, you didn't do this. Although it's part of the IMF program and part of your turnaround. But you are able to be importing, paying for $48 million worth of juice sacks that you don't clear. And you are paying road contractors huge monies and still signing contracts. And you are unable to do this 50 million. So I went to the Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance then said, no, go and see your brother, Honorable Agoja. So I called the Honorable, we met. Quickly, within 1 week, we set up a meeting, the Cocoa Board team and the Ministry of Roads team at the Ministry of Roads. The Minister himself and his deputy, Honorable Suini, sat in the meeting throughout. And we had the technocrats from both sides discuss. We formed a joint team the same day. We gave them 3 weeks to go to the field and go and do the job. I got Cocoa Board to release the monies to them. They went there, they completed the work, which says that we can do 6.9 billion. So that is what has come up now. We are in touch with the Ministry of Roads. Now, the Ministry of Finance has directed that all the ongoing works must go to the Ministry of Roads. The next leg is now to sit down with the Minister of Finance and deal with the issue of the 6.9 billion. How we're going to do that, because now we must engage the contractors and inform them that, look, these are the decisions that have been taken. For what we owe, this is how we'll be able to pay it over a period. So that is what is left to be done now. But what is clear from the minister's press release is that government's position is that focus on your core mandate. Don't veer into these things again. The ongoing projects, let it go to roads. Then now we'll come and look at how to deal with the rationalization, the 6.9 billion. How to deal with that. That's the next leg that we have to deal with.
What's the status of the stabilization fund?
There's no fund. There's
no
nothing.
Fund.
There's no. I didn't meet any money in any fund. Because the stabilization fund really is that in good times, you set money aside, so that in difficult times you can rely on them. I've not seen anything. There's nothing.
So what do you intend to do about it?
Well, now there's a mess we have to deal with, and that's what we're doing. Try to clear things and all that. Once we turn the company and the industry on a positive trajectory, we'll be able to set aside some monies for some of these things.
My understanding is that your financing model for now has changed. The syndicated loan idea, and there's a new conversation. Well, what is it?
It's a bit difficult, but sometimes some truth has to be told. Ordinarily, this is not something that I would want to speak about in public. But the current financing model is not something that was thought out. It's not something that people said, we've created a new financing model for Cocoa Board and all that. Look, I've told you 23, 24.
Yeah.
What happened? For the first time in the history of Cocoa Board has done syndication for 32 years. The 32nd year was 23, 24, which currently will be the last year for syndication. That year, for the first time in the history of Cocoa Board, the season opened in September. The first tranche of the syndicated loan hit Cocoa Board's account on the 22nd of December.
Why is that abnormal?
Because the monies come before the season starts.
Okay.
It is out of the syndicated loan that you create seed funds and give the seed fund to the LBCs to go and buy the cocoa on your behalf. So you open the season without no financing of the cocoa. So September, October, November, December, you had opened the season, but there was no money.
Can you guess why?
It is not a guess. It is because of the financial performance. The banks were monitoring. They were monitoring the contracts that you signed and sent to them that you were going to do 800,000 tons and all that. They didn't believe it. They didn't believe it. That is what led to the rollover. And true, at the end of the season, you couldn't deliver 333,000.
So you suffered a credibility crisis?
To the extent that for 24-25, and this is where the truth is, Cocoa Board issued a request for proposal, which is how you start a syndication. So there's a request for proposal which is floated, and then the financial institutions respond to it. That's how the syndication starts. 24-25, Cocoa Board issued a request for proposal. There was not a single response.
Wow.
For the first time in the history of Cocoa Board, there was not a single response. So what happened was that you now have this global shortage of the bean. Côte d'Ivoire, as a result of CSSVD, had dropped by about 500,000. Ghana had dropped to about 250 to 300,000. You're talking about premium cocoa. There was global shortage everywhere. Now, mind you, the buyers had 333,000 tons at 2,600 with us. So, the guys at the cocoa marketing company, the traders, they then brought up the idea that, look, then let us get the buyers to finance the crop because they are interested in retrieving their 333.
Yes. Because they're also under pressure.
Yes, so they're under pressure from their clients.
Yes.
So it'll be easier to get them to finance the crop. So that whilst we are supplying their 333,000, they also buy some of the new crop.
Oh, okay.
That is what brought this 60-40. And because the guys also knew about the issues in Cocoa Board, they brought out a 60-40 to say that, okay, when we buy the cocoa, we'll give you 60% first.
Okay.
If the LBCs confirm that you have given the 60% to them, then it will trigger your 40%. So if you look at the fact that the farmer was getting 63.9%, what it meant was that even if they gave you the other 40%, it didn't go to the LBCs, what will be outstanding will be 3.9%. So at least 60% will go to the LBC because you want to release that money to trigger the release of your 40. So that is what brought that financing mechanism. It's not as if somebody decided that enough of syndication, we are now going to think through a new model.
Yeah.
A request for proposal was issued and we were snubbed for the first time in the history of Cocoa Board. So now, we are also able to continue that model this season because, one, our finances still are not in a good shape. Two, there is still 100,000 of the rollover at 2,600 to be delivered. Three, there's still global shortage of the bean. But we're also mindful of the fact that if by 25-26 we're able to supply all the bean, and everybody is trying to ramp up production, including Ghana, if global production increases and there are no rollovers again, will you be able to ask the buyer to finance the crop?
It'll be a difficulty.
Yes. So that is why the finance minister hinted that we are already in a discussion about a financing model moving forward. So we are also mindful of the fact that there's a possibility that this could be our last. once we service the remainder of the rollover, and once global production improves. Because the only reason why the buyer will be interested and will want to take up the financing cost in financing your crop is because, like they say in Trini.
Right. Okay. I have a lot of messages for you. I don't know how you're going to do this, but Idim Wahidin says hello. Neil Antevandapoe says hello. You know, Simon Ebony, you know, and Musa Mansa. All of them are asking questions, and I don't know how. Robert Koma.
Mansa Musa in London.
Yes. Ask for Robert Koma. Ask for Robert. I think I need to read Robert. He says, tell Randy that the stunned viewers of Good Morning Ghana miss him a lot, and will forever be grateful for leading such a solid program like Good Morning Ghana for us. We're proud of him, and we also have heard of the extraordinary leadership he's offering at Cocoa, but he should just be focused and purposeful, and he will transform the place by time his tenure ends. And, you know, he says your understanding of the cocoa sector is absolutely mind-blowing, and he's grateful to have you as a big brother. Doc, thank you so very much for your time. We have a lot to talk about. Unfortunately, time is not our best friend, and so we'd want to say a big thanks to you for joining us, and I think that we've had a very, very productive and a very interesting conversation. Thanks, and we can only wish you the best.